In this video, we'll be testing this Coleman Sundome 6-person tent for its ease of setup, takedown, spaciousness, comfort, and more. I bought this Sundome tent from Amazon. Here's what the packaging looks like, and here's what it looks like out of the box. Inside the package, I got the tent body, the rainfly, a foot mat, poles in a carry case, stakes in another carry case, and the carry bag. I put affiliate links below if you want to check it out. To set up this Sundome 6-person tent, first lay the tent body on the ground, and you can also stick the corners down lightly if you need to. Next, grab the two longest fiberglass poles and insert them into the two green pole sleeves at the center of the tent. Then prop one of the poles up first by securing both ends of the pole into these pins, one at each corner of the tent. Do the same with the other pole, adjust the pole sleeves, then attach all the 8 pole clips around the tent body. Next, grab the last and shortest fiberglass pole, which has black tips at both ends of the pole. This is to be inserted right down the center of the rainfly, to be secured with these small pockets at each end as well as 2 Velcro strips. Then grab the rainfly by the rainfly pole and drape it over the tent. Position the rainfly pole with one end over the door at the front of the tent, and then secure the rainfly using these 4 S-hooks of the rainfly to the 4 rings at the corners of the tent. After that, stake the tent down with 4 stakes at the 4 corners and also 1 more stake under the door, so 5 stakes in total. Also, guy out the entire tent with these 6 pre-attached guy lines. And finally, go to the back of the tent and stake down this ground vent. Altogether, it took me about 11.5 minutes to set up the entire Sundome 6-person tent on my own, and here's a full time lapse of it. Taking down the Sundome 6-person tent is just the opposite of the setup, and it took me about 10 minutes for the entire takedown and pack up. Here's another time lapse for that. For more details on the setup, takedown, and pack up, as well as tips on how I set this up on my own, I have this separate video on my channel. The peak height in the Sundome 6-person tent is about 74.5 inches, and I can stand upright here no problem with plenty of headroom left above me. I'm also able to stand upright on thick air mattresses and even bounce around on them, still with headroom left. But this is a dome-shaped tent, so the peak height is only at the center. When I take 2 steps back, my head would touch the top of the tent right here. The rest of the tent slopes downwards too. The length inside this Sundome 6-person tent is about 9 feet and 8 inches, and the width is 9 feet and 7 inches, so quite a few inches smaller than the marketed dimensions of 10 by 10 feet. But I could still easily fit 6 regular sleeping pads inside the tent, and here's what having 6 pads looks like. You do have to sleep shoulder to shoulder, but there's still this small space here to fit a little bit of camping gear. I think it's a little bit of a tight fit though, especially if you have to sleep at the sides of the tent, because my head touches the wall of the tent when I sit up. I think having 4 people on 2 queen-sized camping mattresses would be a much more comfortable fit, and here's what the Sundome 6-person tent looks like with these 2 queen beds. There's also quite a bit of leftover room for storing gear, which is always very nice to have. One of my mattresses is actually 4 inches shorter in width than a true queen, which is why it fit nicely into the tent. Otherwise, the length of the tent is actually a few inches shy of being able to fit 2 queen beds. Having both these beds together is quite a snug fit. There are 2 windows in this Sundome 6-person tent, one on each length of the tent. Each window has 2 white zippers, a bug net to prevent larger bugs from getting in, and also a window latch to hold the fabric when the window is open. The window at the back measures about 42 inches in length, 25 inches in width, and it also has 3 more latches at the top of the window. I think this is for having more ventilation while keeping your privacy at the same time. I don't usually use these. I find these latches quite loose, and I think it's a lot quicker to use these zippers to zip it up instead. The window at the front measures about 41 inches in length, 26 inches in width, so about the same size, and it's part of the door. The door measures about 54 inches in length and 42 inches in width, so decently big. It also measures about 56 inches from the ground to the top of the door, and I'm about 5'3", so I had to duck when getting in and out of the tent through this door. This door comes with 2 latches by the side to tie the door fabric up to keep it open, and it also comes with 2 black zippers to zip it open and shut. For storage, this Sundome 6-person tent has 2 pockets inside the tent, each measuring about 9 by 7 inches. There's also 1 lantern loop at the very top of the tent for some lighting at night, and 1 e-port at the bottom of the tent with a zippered closure. It didn't rain while I was using this Sundome tent, so I had to make do with this water hose, and I concentrated the rainfall on these 2 walls of the tent. On this wall of the tent, I wanted to see if the water would drip onto the mesh of the window, and it did, as you can see the bottom part of the window right here. But most of the heavy rain falls to the sides of the tent and not on the window. After about 30 minutes of this heavy rain, I stopped the test to check in on the tent. I noticed that there was a little bit of leaking into the tent through the corner. Also, I noticed that the bathtub flooring seam was starting to feel very slightly damp. If you look carefully, you can see water inside the seam right here. So I decided to continue the rain test for another 5 minutes, and this was when I first noticed the first few drops of water dripping into the tent from the bathtub flooring seam. On this wall here, I wanted to see if the rainfly could protect the mesh wall from getting wet, and it did. Even after 35 minutes of heavy pouring rain, the mesh wall was still dry and even the bathtub flooring seam was dry. Do you know why one of the walls leaked while the other didn't? Well, look at the length of the rainfly. This wall with the white colored part of the rainfly has a lot more rainfly protection, and this wall with the green colored part of the rainfly has less rainfly protection. More rainfly protection means that less water flows over the inner walls of the tent, less water comes into contact with the seams, and there's less leaking, of course. The rainfly of this Sundome tent protects only the door and nothing else outside the tent. So even your footwear outside the tent will get wet in light rain. For rainy day ventilation, with the rainfly in place over the two mesh walls, these become like vents spanning both entire widths of the Sundome tent. Each of these vents measures about 14 inches in width from the outside. I liked that these mesh walls were well protected by the rainfly and no water got into my tent. Also, I could crack the windows open a bit if the rain isn't too heavy. On top of that, I also had a little bit of ventilation from this ground vent right here. It's the smallest vent in this Sundome tent, measuring just 35 by 9 inches from the inside and about 7 inches in width from the outside. It's been factory taped from the inside and no water got into my tent through this vent wall. On a hot day, you can take the rainfly off from the outside for even more ventilation, because instead of two vents, you now get two mesh walls. There won't be as much privacy when the rainfly is off though. The flooring of this Sundome tent is made of polyethylene and the bathtub feature extends up to about 8 inches. Both the tent body and rainfly are made of polyester like all my other Coleman tents. Even though I put the rainfly, the flooring, and the tent fabric through 35 minutes of heavy pouring rain, they stayed completely dry during my rain test. Except for this vent inside the tent and the rainfly outside the tent, the rest of the seams inside the tent have not been factory taped. But those with less rainfly protection have been inverted, like this green tent body to bathtub flooring seam, the vertical seams, and some of the middle seams. The seams themselves are pretty good quality, double stitched and consistent, and I found only one loose thread at the lantern loop and a little bit of mesh poking out from behind the window seam. The mesh is just regular mesh, not no-seam mesh, and it's decent quality. The zippers are also decent quality and all of them are catch-free. I didn't have snagging issues on the windows and the doors didn't snag as well, but just bear in mind that the design of this rain cover will sometimes get in the way of the zippers. So I just learned to hold the rain cover away when zipping it up and it won't snag at all. The zippers are color-coded, black for the door and white for the windows. All the poles are made of fiberglass, though I do wish they were color-coded. Also, I liked that the pole sleeves are short and very snag-free, and I had no issues putting up this entire tent on my own. This Sundome 6-person tent has a packed size of 27 by 12 by 9.5 inches. Here's what it looks like beside a Coleman 2-person Sundome tent and a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle, and it weighs about 16 pounds for everything. For pros, I found the setup pretty easy, taking me just 11 minutes on my own, even though I'm not very tall. The take down and pack up was easy as well, and I didn't even have to rip this strip off at the bottom of the bag to expand the bag. I also really liked the 6-foot peak height with plenty of headroom. I'm able to stand upright, stretch my arms out, walk around the tent, stand up on my pads and mattresses, even jump around, and basically just got a lot of livable space for a dome tent. Another pro is that this Sundome tent is really inexpensive. I paid barely over $100 for mine. On top of that, this Sundome tent also has a decent amount of ventilation and rain protection. If you found this helpful so far, please help me hit that like button. Thank you, and I really appreciate it. As for cons, I guess I do wish that they taped this seam instead of making it just inverted, so it'll last longer under heavy rain. Also, for a 6-person tent, there's only 2 pockets and 1 lantern loop. And this is not really a con, but honestly, I much prefer the darkroom version of this tent. On hot, scorching summer days, this tent won't protect you from the sun as much as the darkroom does. So, this is my recommendation to you. Check out the price difference between this regular Sundome tent and the darkroom Sundome tent. You might be surprised by what you find. I actually paid about the same price for this tent as well as my darkroom tent. On top of that, the darkroom tent packs down to about the same size and weighs only about half a pound more. I highly recommend the darkroom tent because it not only is a lot darker in the day and also at night, but it's also a lot cooler inside the tent, especially during the day, which makes it perfect for hot summer days. But wait, before you buy either tent, I compared this Coleman Sundome tent against more than 10 other Coleman tents in this video, so I highly recommend that you watch it. I'll put it up when it's ready, so do check it out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see ya in the next one.